I was 22 years old. Back home after college fell apart for reasons I never fully explained to anyone. My room still looked like it did in high school, posters peeling off the walls, trophies collecting dust, a twin bed that felt smaller every night. And inside that closet, tucked behind old jackets and forgotten shoeboxes, was the version of me I thought no one would ever see. The box was pastel pink. I had bought it secretly, months before moving back home. It held a life I only allowed myself after midnight. A soft chestnut wig. A floral summer dress. A pair of nude heels that made my legs look longer than they actually were. A small makeup kit I'd practiced with in the dim glow of my desk lamp. I wasn't prepared for the silence that followed her discovery. "Alex?" Her voice wasn't angry. That almost made it worse. I walked into my room and saw her standing there, the box open on my bed. The wig lay across her hands like something fragile. The dress was half unfolded, its light fabric spilling over the comforter. My throat closed. Every secret memory flashed in my mind at once, standing in front of the mirror at 1 a.m., heart racing, lipstick trembling in my hand. The first time I whispered a softer version of my name to myself. The first time I saw something in the reflection that felt right. "What is this?" she asked, turning toward me. I tried to speak. Nothing came out. Her eyes weren't furious. They were searching. Confused. Afraid. And somehow that made my shame even heavier. "It's just clothes," I muttered finally. She picked up the dress, holding it against her body for scale. "These aren't just clothes." The air in the room felt suffocating. My palms were slick. I wanted to disappear. To rewind time. To shove everything back into darkness. But instead, I did something I had never done before. "I like how I feel in them," I whispered. The silence that followed was unbearable. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. And maybe she was. That night, nothing else was said. She closed the box carefully. Too carefully. As if she were handling something dangerous. The next morning, my life began to unravel. At breakfast, my father didn't look at me. My mother moved around the kitchen with an unnatural calm. She poured coffee. Set plates down. Wiped the same counter 3 times. "We need to talk," she finally said. I felt like a child again, caught doing something unforgivable. They sat across from me at the table. "Are you confused?" my mother asked gently. The word stung. "I'm not confused," I said. Sometimes I feel more like myself when I'm dressed that way." My father's jaw tightened. "You're a man." The words were firm. Final. "I know what I was born as," I said, my voice shaking. "But that doesn't mean." "That doesn't mean what?" he cut in. I didn't have the vocabulary to explain what I was feeling. I wasn't even sure what label fit. I just knew that when I stepped into that dress, something inside me stopped fighting. My mother reached across the table, her fingers brushing mine. "There are doctors," she said carefully. "Specialists. If you're feeling this way, we can get help." Help. It sounded like something was broken. Over the next week, my normal life collapsed quietly. Friends noticed I stopped going out. My father barely spoke to me. My mother made calls in hushed tones behind closed doors. Then came the appointment. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and lavender air freshener. The waiting room walls were painted in calming blues, but my heart pounded violently against my ribs. The doctor was kind. Too kind. He asked about my childhood. My feelings. When I first noticed I liked wearing feminine clothes. I expected judgment. Instead, I got nods and notes scribbled on a clipboard. "There are options," he said eventually. "If you feel your identity aligns more closely with a feminine expression, hormone therapy is something we can discuss." My mother squeezed my shoulder. The word hormones echoed in my mind. It felt huge, permanent, and terrifyingly relieving. I didn't know whether I wanted this or whether I just wanted the fighting to stop. A week later, papers were placed in front of me. Consent forms, medical waivers, treatment agreements, contracts. I scanned the pages, the legal language blurring together. My father stood behind me. My mother beside me. Think carefully, she whispered. This is a big step. It felt less like freedom and more like surrender. But I signed. The pen trembled in my hand. The first few weeks on hormones were subtle. Then they weren't. My skin softened first. It happened so gradually I didn't notice until one morning, running my hand across my arm, I realized it felt different. Smoother. My emotions became unpredictable. I would be watching television and suddenly feel tears welling up for no reason. Or anger would spike and disappear just as quickly. At work, because yes, I still worked part-time at a marketing firm, things started shifting. Did you change your skincare routine? Jenna from accounting asked one afternoon, squinting at my face. I laughed awkwardly. Something like that. I began wearing slightly slimmer cuts of clothing. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to feel less boxed in. But whispers followed. Is he? I heard something about hormones. Every glance felt like a spotlight. I stopped using the men's restroom and avoided the women's. I held everything in until I got home. Freedom gone. That's what it felt like. I wasn't living as my old self anymore, but I wasn't allowed to live fully as the new one either. At night, alone in my room, I would take the pink box out again. Only now, it wasn't just secret experimentation. It was exploration. I put on the wig slowly, adjusting it with careful fingers. The hair framed my face differently now, my features softer, cheeks slightly fuller. The dress slipped over my body more naturally than before. I stood in front of the mirror, heart pounding. Who are you? I whispered to my reflection. For the first time, the answer didn't feel like a stranger. I practiced my voice in hushed tones. Higher. Softer. Not forced, just eased upward. I walked back and forth across my room in heels, correcting my posture. Each night, I discovered something new. The way mascara made my eyes look wider. The way a slight tilt of my chin changed my entire presence. Curiosity replaced shame. Then excitement. One Saturday evening, I did something reckless. I stepped outside. Not far. Just down the block. The sun had already dipped below the horizon, the streetlights casting warm golden pools on the pavement. My heart beat violently as I walked. Every passing car felt like it was slowing down to stare. But no one stopped. No one pointed. A woman walking her dog smiled at me casually. Evening. I almost looked behind me to see who she was talking to. Evening, I replied, my voice trembling slightly, but it sounded right. That tiny interaction ignited something inside me. The next weekend, I went further. A cafe across town, one where no one knew me. I sat at a corner table, hands wrapped around a cup of tea, trying to breathe normally. The barista had called me ma'am without hesitation. Ma'am. The word wrapped around my chest like a warm blanket. A man at the next table struck up a conversation about the book I was pretending to read. You have great taste, he said with an easy smile. He didn't hesitate. Didn't squint. Didn't question. For those 20 minutes, I wasn't hiding. I wasn't apologizing. I was just existing. That was my first real taste of freedom. But freedom comes with a cost. Back at work, HR called me in. We've had some concerns, the manager began carefully. If you're transitioning, we need formal documentation. There are policies. More paperwork. More contracts. I signed again. Agreements about dress code. Bathroom usage. Name badges. My old name printed in bold at the top of every page. It felt like my identity was being negotiated in legal terms. At home, tension simmered. My father avoided eye contact entirely now. My mother oscillated between overprotective and distant. "Are you happy?" she asked one night while folding laundry. I paused. "I'm closer," I said honestly. She nodded slowly, but I saw fear in her eyes. Fear of what the world might do to me. The confrontation came unexpectedly. A family gathering. Cousins, aunts, uncles. I had planned to present neutrally. Safe. But halfway through dinner, my uncle leaned back in his chair and said loudly, "So what's this I hear about you wanting to be a girl?" The room went silent. My chest tightened. All eyes on me. I could lie. Laugh it off. Retreat. Or I could stop running. I felt the weight of every contract I'd signed. Every whisper at work. Every careful step in heels under streetlights. "I'm not wanting to be anything," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "I'm just trying to live as myself." "And what does that even mean?" he scoffed. "It means I've spent my whole life pretending to be comfortable," I replied. "And I'm tired." My father shifted in his seat. My mother's hand found mine under the table. "I don't have all the answers," I continued. "But I know I deserve to figure them out." The silence that followed was thick. Then my cousin, quiet, observant, spoke up. "Honestly? I think it's brave." Brave. The word cracked something open inside me. Not broken. Not confused. Brave. That night, after everyone left, my father finally spoke. "You're making your life harder," he said quietly. "I know," I replied. "Why?" I met his eyes for the first time in weeks. "Because living a lie was harder." He didn't respond. But he didn't argue either. The real climax came months later. My hormones had reshaped me subtly but undeniably. Softer features. Slight curves at my hips. My wardrobe had shifted entirely. HR called another meeting. "There have been complaints," they said. "Clients are uncomfortable." My stomach dropped. "We need to know how you plan to present going forward." It was a test. I could revert. Make everyone comfortable. Reclaim the old version of myself and keep my job secure. Or I could step fully into who I was becoming. I thought of the cafe. The barista's easy ma'am. My cousin's brave. The first time I saw myself in the mirror and didn't flinch. "I plan to continue presenting as I am," I said calmly. "And I expect to be treated with the same professionalism I've always given." The room was silent. One of the managers cleared her throat. "We'll review policies." I walked out shaking, but proud. 2 weeks later, an email went out company-wide about inclusivity and respect. My name, my chosen name, updated in the system. When I saw it on my badge for the first time, I cried in the restroom. Not out of fear. Out of release. At home, things softened too. My mother began asking small questions about makeup shades. My father still struggled, but one evening he surprised me. "You look happy," he said awkwardly. I smiled. "I am." The contracts I signed hadn't taken my freedom. They forced me to confront what freedom actually meant. It wasn't secrecy. It wasn't midnight experiments. It was standing in daylight and refusing to shrink. Today, when I look in the mirror, I don't see shock anymore. I see continuity. I see the scared person clutching a pink box in a closet. The trembling hand signing consent forms. The cautious steps under streetlights. And I see someone who chose authenticity over comfort. If you're watching this and you're hiding pieces of yourself in a box somewhere, literal or not, I need you to hear this. The moment someone discovers you might feel like the end of everything. But sometimes, it's the beginning. Freedom isn't the absence of fear. It's walking forward anyway.